Next, we're going to be making an intensity change scale. An intensity change scale will help us to make a color darker. From making a color wheel, you know that you can make any color darker by adding black. Those are called shades. Any color plus black is a shade. Now that is one way to make darks, but in nature, light acts a little bit differently. If I want to make a color darker naturally, I can use its complement. This is complement with an E in the middle, complement. Complementary colors are two that on a color wheel are exact opposite from each other. So for example, yellow and violet, orange and blue, green and red. We call them complements because together they make a whole. If I have yellow and I have violet, violet is made of red and blue. So yellow, red, and blue, all the colors of the rainbow. The three primary colors, which as you know, can make all the others. If I have blue and I have its complement, orange, well, I've got all the colors of the rainbow again because orange is yellow and red together. Now this is not to say that these colors look good together, but they do create some sort of color balance when you do see them together, such as red and green. Now, what we're going to learn next is in an intensity change, you will see a color get darker, not by adding black, but by adding its complement. Now that might seem pretty crazy considering I am telling you that you can make a green darker by adding red. I am also telling you that you can make yellow darker by adding violet, which makes sense, but you can make violet dark by adding yellow, which does not seem to make sense. So what we're going to do is an intensity change scale. You will be putting two colors that are complementary, in other words, across from each other on the color wheel, and you will be making a scale which, when finished, will look like one color is transforming into the other. What it will allow you to do is see that there is another way to make an infinite variety of darks using complementary colors instead of black. We'll be using the scale page that you already started, where you have your gray scale and your monochromatic scale. We'll be adding an intensity change scale. Now, which colors you choose for your intensity change scale are up to you. You must make sure, though, that you use two colors that are opposite or complements of each other in the color wheel. And I mean literally across from each other, not kind of across from each other. Red is directly across from green, not yellow-green. However, yellow-green is directly across from red-violet. Now you have many colors in your set. This time you do not have to mix these up. You can use them as you see them. In other words, you could use this blue and this orange. You could use this green and this red. You could also use this green and that same red, or this green and that red. You have many options. The whole point of creating an intensity change scale is, again, just to see that you can make colors darker by adding their complement or opposite. For my example, I'm going to be using orange and blue. I will use the orange that's in the set because it's fine. Make it kind of liquidy. New place on my palette. Make a good amount of paint. Okay, and we're going to lay that color in full strength on one end of the scale. Make sure it's nice and solid. If it's not, give it a second coat. This is an important activity to do before you do a full color still life, because after this, you will now have done all the necessary color experiments to create a full color still life. Okay, now with your brush very clean, you can try your second color. Mine, again, is going to be blue. So I'm going to be using the darker blue, or actually any of the blues will work. I think I've got the turquoise-ish blue. We'll take that, move it to the palette, and lay some in all the way on the opposite side. Now the scale that we're creating today is not a light to dark scale. It's an intensity change scale, which means the color is going to appear to lose its intensity. When a color loses its intensity, we say it is subdued. When a color is at its most intense, That's when it's coming directly from the container or the paint tube. All right, so now we have both ends finished. We've got blue on one side and orange on the other. Next, on your palette, go ahead and mix up blue and orange, or in your case, whichever two colors you are using. You will get a new color. You will know it works when, and I'm going from both, sorry, grabbing, kind of trying to grab all the yellow or orange here to make this. You will know the color is correct when it does not look like either of its parents. This color is some kind of weird gray-green. It doesn't look like blue. It doesn't look like orange. If I saw it on a paper, I might not be able to guess where it came from. Now, am I telling you that orange and blue make green? I am not telling you that. This looks green, but is kind of just like a cool, dark green-grayish, if you will. Okay? Now, we're going to be working our way from either end of the scale, either from color A towards the center or color B towards the center. The trick is to start again with the color you started with. So here's a bunch of that blue. And then what I'm going to do is just add a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of the orange. A little each time, changing the blue. Now that changed it dramatically, too much. So I've got to go backward. It's no problem. In watercolor, it's pretty easy. Just go back to the blue. Bam, now my whole thing is shifted again, back towards something that we all would say, yeah, that's blue. All right, but notice it is darker, and it is a really interesting color, and just a little bit darker than the regular blue. Now, let's add a little more orange. Clean your brush before you go over to orange, that way you don't get your orange too dirty. Remember, a little goes a long way, and sure enough, it has again. We've got another color that's very dark. Not blue enough for me. Let's put some blue back into it. And we'll lay that color in right next to the one we just did. Remember, take your time. Let them dry between colors if they are getting a little bit out of control. Brush control is important. All right, now we're going to add a little bit more orange to this. And we'll get something a little darker still. And we'll lay that one in right here. Now we'll know it's too dark if it looks like our third color that we put in, which was that even mix of both color A and color B. Now, no matter what two colors you choose for this experiment, red and green, yellow and violet, orange and blue, any two complements, the middle colors are always going to be something that most of us would consider sort of muddy, a little bit poopy, kind of brownish. And that reminds me, now you know how to another way to make browns. You basically are mixing all the colors together. You may have heard that that will give you black, but it does not. It gives you mud poop brown. Okay, so now we're going to make our first step down from orange. I want to make sure that it still looks orange enough, but it is a little bit darker. I'm going to lay that in right there. Cool. And we're going to add a little tiny, tiny bit. Remember, little goes a long way. Blue. Now I'm cheating. I noticed I went over to my already diluted area here instead of going directly to blue. And that's probably smart because you're going to see the change happen a lot slower. You got more control. There you go. Okay. Next one. I'm still going to cheat and going over there. It's already diluted. What the heck? I think I might have gone too far. I'll go carefully back to orange. You can play this all day, going back and forth, making sure you get it just right. Again, even though you didn't really change one color literally into the other, when your scale is dry, it'll kind of look that way. And the last one, right next to the third one we laid in. And it feels a little brown, a little too brownish. Let me throw a little bit of blue in there. So it feels a little bit more related to the color too, adjacent to it. All right, I think when that dries, I'm going to be happy with the results. And again, it does kind of look like orange translates or transforms slowly into blue. But why did we do this? Just again, to show you another way to darken any color is to add its complement.